Tim, this is our 7th session in Toronto together.
Yeah.
We've recorded a lot of podcasts in this room.
Yep.
Graham, our engineer, sitting beside us there, has done a great job.
Yep.
And I got a question for you.
Okay.
Tim, will there ever be a cryptographically relevant quantum computer?
Well, they're better because we've reported a lot of episodes, and
They're
otherwise
better
we're
by
wasting
now.
our time. Well, I think it's a valid question to ask, and you're not the first person who's asked it. Certainly, to some degree, unless you have the ability to read the future, I would propose that we need a slightly different question, which is, can we be sure there won't be? And if the answer is no, then we have to act as if there will.
We could wrap the episode right there.
Right.
And that is the truth. Because that is the punchline is there is nothing in physics or in math that says that we can't.
Right.
Every argument against, and this is what this podcast is going to be about, and we're not going to take a lot of time, but I think it's worth saying. Here's an analogy for you, Tim. Other people have said this. I didn't come up with it. Think about you're on a gigantic, endless beach. I don't know if you've ever been to Australia, but like the beaches go for past the horizon. Imagine having to control every grain of sand.
Okay.
So that if the wind blew,
Right.
the grains of sand don't move. That's a big task.
Yeah.
And that is the task of building a cryptographically relevant quantum computer.
Sure.
So it's such a mind-boggling scale problem that a lot of very smart people have said, well, there'll never be a cryptographically relevant quantum computer.
I think there will never be is a very dangerous line of reasoning. I think where you can demonstrate that something is, let's say, mathematically or impossible according to the laws of physics, then declaring there will never be is reasonably safe. I think to say there will never be faster than light space travel is definitely a prediction that we could make and feel pretty good about it. But I don't think that applies here. And I think when historically, when people have applied there will never be reasoning to what are essentially engineering problems rather than science problems, if you get the distinction, I think that has been a very dangerous prediction to make, because the march of science and the march of technology and human innovation and invention have always surprised us.
Yeah. And something that you and I have said many times in this podcast is the fact that the proof, it's not a proof, there's no proof, right, but this extremely strong suggestion that we're going to get there is the fact that the engineering timelines on what was declared by 2024 will be here, by 2025 will be here, by 2026 will be here. Those dates have been hit, Tim.
Oh yeah. Or hit early. Right? And this is also another thing you'll see. I won't say it always occurs, but it is very, very, very frequent that when we try to measure some kind of metrical measure of the progress of technology, right? Number of gated bits that you can fit. These measurements, this projection, this extrapolation methodology we use doesn't account for innovation, doesn't account for the fact that people invent new methods and that advances in other areas, right? So right now, somewhere in the world, someone is working on what appears to be an unrelated science that is going to turn out to have direct application in establishing and maintaining a larger number of stable qubits.
Yeah, I call it AI.
right? That's going on. And this always happens. And so when you try to project technological KPIs or metrics using an extrapolation method, it's fundamentally fraught with danger because most of these things actually curve up over time. And that tends to get lost in the extrapolation methodology. So, no, it may be that we don't, but once upon a time, someone thought you couldn't fly over an ocean. And once upon a time, someone thought you couldn't go to the moon.
Yeah, those were equally mind-boggling scale problems.
Yes.
That were solved.
Yeah.
And this is fundamentally what it comes down to. Every one of the arguments that I read were really came down to, holy bajoli, I can't control every grain of sand, and I can't imagine anybody ever could. That's essentially what the argument was. And then it was, okay, your classical quantum circuits, like all the math that would require, Shor's algorithm to work, seem too oversimplistic on paper and on a chalkboard. To actually make that happen from an engineering standpoint, way too hard. And yet the engineering has proved that they can move towards it. So Tim, at this point in the conversation, here's what I want to say is the eureka moment and the breakthrough. And there's way smarter people on this topic than us, but I'll say it because I think it's pretty obvious now. If anybody listening to this episode and you're curious about the question of will there be a cryptographically relevant quantum computer, is this. The thing you had to absolutely believe in happening was vast, scaled improvements in fault tolerance. Mm-hmm. And that's exactly what we got over the past year. Mm-hmm. That's exactly what we got. The ability to hold a lot of grains of sand stable, like enormous amounts, is now reality. We now know how it can be done at big scale. So now it's a matter of scaling that up and taking those gigantic eureka moments that we've now had over the past couple of years and now employing them into just more and more and more stable grains of sand. And so, therefore, I think that the pieces that had to happen happened for it to move to the next set of eureka moments that we are going to require.
Right.
And therefore, what you said at the beginning, which is there's nothing fundamentally in physics or math or anything that says it can't.
Prohibits it. Yes.
There's nothing that prohibits it. And so therefore, just the wincing, like trying to wrap your mind around what a cryptographically relevant quantum computer has to be capable of doing, just being so, that's just too hard, is no longer well, that's proof that it'll never happen. And here's how I'd like to end my comments about this. I got a ton of notes that I'm going to totally skip and just get to the point, which is this is more of a psychology problem than it is a technology problem, because I think that people who want there to never be a cryptographically relevant quantum computer are the ones who don't want to have to do the inventory of cryptographic assets.
Right. There is a strong tendency to believe a fallacy when you want what you believe to be true.
Yes. End of episode.
End of episode.
Thank you, Tim.